So these are Africans, these are African nationalists. As you can see on the screen, their pictures and their names. These are called African elites. These are called educated elites. They were called Pan-African, they are called Africans. They struggled for the independence of the black of the African people. During the colonial period, the European came and conquered Africa and take African land from African people. They colonized Africa and ruled Africa for a period of 400 years. Some of the Africans who stood and said no to European imperialism somewhere changed. We are now at the museum, the National Museums in the Republic of Senegal, in the heart of Dakar. So inside this museum, we are going to find fascinating things. So a museum is a place where historical facts are kept. So right now we are inside Senegal. As you can see, the museum is very, very big. It's large compared to that of our museum in Uganda. So that's why history is very, very important in our lifetime. Us as among young people, but us as Gambians, or of course African at large, it's very important for us to know our history. Because history make us informed, make us to be informed citizens. So this is, the National Museums of Senegal. So as you can see, it's very, very big in size. So we are expected to see some of the fascinating things around. So I will take you through to explain some of the things that we are expected to see inside the National Museum. Right now, we are in the main entrance of the National Museums of the Republic of Senegal in Dakar. As I mentioned earlier, this is a museum where artifacts are kept, and historical records are kept. So these are Africans, these are African nationalists. As you can see on the screen, their pictures and their names. These are called African elites. These are called educated elites. They were called Pan-African, they are called Africans. They struggled for the independence of the of the African people. During the colonial period, the European came and conquered Africa and take African land from African people. They colonized Africa and ruled Africa for a period of 400 years. Some of the Africans who stood and said no to European imperialism somewhere changed. They were beaten, they were maltreated, they were humiliated. So these are called African people. As you can see, their pictures, they are never be eradicated in the history of the African people. So these are called Pan-African, they are called nationalists. So in Africa, there are many Africans who stood on their feet and resisted against European imperialists and resisted against colonialism. Colonialism was the indirect political rule of the African people. It arises after the scramble for an partition of Africa. When Europeans were in need of lands, they decided to convert in Berlin, Germany in 1884-1885. They divided Africa into 54 odd nations. Then Africa had never been the same again. So French had the largest colonies in Africa. They colonized Senegal. They colonized Burkina Faso, Mali, Mauritania, and many other African countries, and they introduced the direct system of administration, which means their main aim was to transform the African people into French men. That was their main policy. But for the British, they introduced a system called indirect rule system, a system used by the British to rule the African people with the use of our kings and chiefs. And Africa was ruled by the British for a period of 400 years. Among their allies colonies included Gambia. Gambia was colonized by the British for a period of 400 years. Then some other African countries, such as Ghana, Nigeria, were also colonized for a period of 400 years. So these are called African nationalists. These are great Africans who stood and fight for the independence of the African people. So as you can see, their pictures and their names and the countries where they came from. So among these African people, as you can see deep down there, we have Emperor Haile Selassie, an important African, a great African nationalist. As you can also see, we have, Jomo Kenyatta, one of the first president of the Republic of Kenya. We also have Leo Sedar Senghor is also among the pictures. We also have many African people. You name them now. They are very important in our lifetime. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, who will become the first president of Ghana, was also among, is also a great African nationalist. We also have Nelson Mandela, the first president or the first black president of the Republic of South Africa, was also among the African people who were recognized to be the founding fathers. So I salute you all. So I will take you through the history of. So in these sites, we have a list of African presidents, people who serve as president in Africa. We have Thomas Sankara, a man who ruled for a period of 100 days, and of course, finally, he was taken away as a result of an coup d'etat. Then we also have what they call John Ifai, the current president of the Republic of Senegal, is also recognized as a leader in Senegal. Then, as you can see, of course, Macky Sall, of course, was a great African who contributed to the development of Senegal. He played an important role in the Gambia. Then we recognize the president of a man called Abidi Pele, who played an important role in the history of the Gambia in the era of football. Very great. So you can see we have also Ousmane Sow, a Senegalese, also played an important role in the development of Senegal. Then I'll take you to a man called, very important, We also have J.J. Okocha, very important in our lifetimes. So these are all Africans who contributed in one way or the other for the developments of Africa. So I will take you through this other side. So inside the museum, as you can see, this also is part of inside the museum. So these are statue spots that African people or the Arabs were using this. So it's very important. It's also found inside this big museums in Senegal here. So this was commonly used by the Arabs during those times. During the ancient civilization of Egypt, this was what the Arabs were using. So these are the statues that are used. When the slaves were captured in the interior, they were taken to an island called Gore Island. So these people have a diagram of an island structure in the Gore Island. So from here, we are going to take a course to Gore Island for you people to know. So when you look at here, these are African people who were captured, Muslim groups. These are Africans who were captured. So this diagram is trying to show us how African people were forced to work as slaves. So they are more with little water and little food, they die in terms of working. So these slaves are people without any right. They are required to work for their master for days, for hours without any compensations. So in slavery also happened here in Senegal. When the French came, they captured the people of Senegal. They were taken to Gore Island as slaves. So this diagram is telling us how African people were maltreated. As you can see, slaves were working hard with chains and shackles on their necks and their heads. Some of them were stripped naked now. So as you can see, this is just a diagram of Gore Island. This is a structure of Gore Island. So when we go to Gore Island, this is what we are expected to see. It's a big island where African people were taken to work as slaves. So in fact, if you are taken to this island, finally, you are not required to return back to your village where you come from. So when you are in this island, you are required to work hard without no payment. And of course, when the ship arrives, all of them you are packed in a certain, you are chained and handcuffed. And of course, the ship will take you to America now, whereby you will never return to Africa. So around millions of African people were taken from Gambia, were taken from Senegal, were taken from Guinea-Bissau. As you can see, this is like a tree. It means about trees. So it means about trees is representing an idea or a symbol. So it means Africa started as a unified, as one continent. So as you can see, up into the Bawa trees, it shows different branches. So that's how Africa started to be in different branches. So you can see this is a tree in a tree format and a tree structure, showing that Africa was like a continent, was a unifying state at the time. But when the European came, they divided Africa. So this structure shows the division of Africa into various structures. So it's a structure, a symbol that is found inside anything. It's made out of iron, but it's represent a baobab tree. So that's why here in Africa, baobabs are made. So that's why baobabs normally have different branches. It shows that it's African, but with different countries inside this continent called Africa. So that is why this structure here is being made. And see different scores. In Africa, there are different animals. As you can see, this is an animal bone. When such animals here, this is how their bones now, their structures. So Africa here, there used to be many animals ranging from chimpanzees, we have monkeys, we have many animals. So these are their remains. You can take a look, view through the glass, you tend to know which type of animals are they. It's found here in the biggest monument in Senegal, Dakar. You can find many captivating and of course fascinating structures. These also are remains, skulls. You can see them now. You can view through them. These are all found inside these museums. Different stones, different stones during the ancient era, during those times in Africa. Some stones are minerals, they contain minerals. Some stones are used for road constructions. So these are, of course, remains, as you can see. structures, bones. These are images now. You can see how human being came into creations. Human structures and animal structures that are found inside these museums. So these are stones, some are white stones. See? And they are found in different parts of Africa. Some of these stones are very useful. That is why they are kept inside these museums for historical records, for historical account. You can even zoom it. You can zoom it properly. These are jars. Moses down. These are jars. These are made by the porters. In fact, in Africa here, we have different people and different tribes. Each of these tribes, they have different skills and different talents. So some of these tribes, like the Saraule women and the blacksmiths, they were the one engaged in the pottery productions. So this one is made out of clay. They will go to the riverbank and use this clay. They will mold the clay now into different objects. So among these objects that we are made, it includes this one. These are jars. So these jars are used to store water, and the water kept or stored in these jars used to be very cold at the time. In fact, even right now, some of the African people still drink from these jars. So these jars were made from a type, or were made by tribes such as the Sarahules at the time. So they will use clay and of course remove the unwanted material inside the clay, and then they will mix water to it now. They make the clay into different objects. So they draw lines to make it very beautiful. And in fact, they can make what they call calendoscope on itself from this clay. So as you can see, it's also telling us like African people, they were using these ones, I mean, for storing of water or for different purposes. A structured format showing us this, what tribe or which country uses this one. So as you can see, this is used in Guinea, Conakry. They use this one as part of their culture or masquerade. There's a tribe in Guinea that uses this one. For example, whenever they have a particular event, the tribe will use this one now to, I mean, to show their culture, to celebrate their culture. So when you look at this one, of course, too, it is used by a particular tribe in Gabon. So in Gabon, they use this particular type of structure. Now, for instance, when they have a festival, they will bring out this one now to showcase what the people of Guinea or Gabon have. So this one too, it is used in Guinea-Bissau. For the Guinea-Bissau, for example, when they have festival now, you see people, they will use this one and put it on their head to be showcasing what they have. So when you look at, of course, this one is used in Cameroon. It's just like an image of an animal, you understand? So an individual will use it now and put it on the head now to be expressing their culture to and entertain people. So when you look at this one, of course, is you see Burkina Faso. The people of Burkina, this, I mean, is from their country. So a particular tribe or a section of the population in Burkina Faso, this is what they use. When they have naming ceremony or when they have, how to call it, circumcision ceremony, this is part of their culture. There's a tribe in Burkina Faso that uses this particular. So of course, when you come here, of course, we have Cameroon. This one belongs to Cameroon because in Cameroon here you have different tribes. So different tribes they use different masquerade to showcase their culture, to celebrate their culture whenever they have festivals. So all of this one is found here in Senegal. So they are trying to show, in fact, they are not the actual images, but of course they are just, I mean, structures. They are just symbols to enable the people right now to know what tribes, what countries have in terms of their culture, because there are different countries and different culture. So this is what we have for now. Now, when you come to this side, of course, we have Cote d'Ivoire. So for Cote d'Ivoire, this is what they use now, for instance. So each and every country, they have their different masquerade. When they come to the Gambia now, there's a tribe called the Mandinka. They use the Kamkra. The Jola, they use the how to call it, the Kumpo. The Wolof, they use the Zimba. So as you can see here, so this one here also is found in Guinea. In Guinea, we have a tribe that uses this one in terms of a ceremony. The Nigeria also equally. There's a tribe in Nigeria here, they use this one. They use this structure. So all this one it is found. Now we come to this side to look for this one. Now this one is also another masquerade. Yes. That Guinea also uses now. As you can see, it's very scary. So some of the masquerades are very scary. But they correspond with our African cultures used by our African people. So these are African women in politics. African women in politics. The strong African women who are actively involved in politics.
Politics.
So these are their pictures. As you can see, you can find here in the biggest museum here in South. The strong Africans who are agitating, who are taking parties and politics. So we can see these are strong women.
These are this.
They are actively involved in African politics. They are from different countries. They involve in different activities. They take part in African politics strong.
These are this. They are here.
Because here was included. So for this one, these are the ancient one. These other ones are the modern one. These
Yeah.
people also during the
I see
colonial
my,
days.
my grandmother there.
During the colonial days, they are actively involved in politics. In fact, some of the people they resisted against European imperialists because when the European came, they wanted to colonize African people. Some of these people they participated in the fight for Africans' independence. So as you can see them now, they are pictures. Some of them are now even forgotten in our African history. But as we see their pictures, then we can easily able to tell among these people. Are you understanding? So these people at the time they are not like our present days African women. These people they fight. Some of them even they will use gun to fight for the freedom of their African people because they resist against European imperialism. As you can see, in fact, this one is having a gun. As you can see, no to colonialism in Africa. Are you seeing that? Exactly. Biggest museum in Africa. So this museum, as you can see, is very fascinating. The environment is very friendly, and of course, we go deep into the museum and inject knowledge into the minds and the hearts of the African people to show you what our African ancestors had, to show you the great African nationalists. So nationalists were those people who struggled for the independence of Africa. So as you can see deep down there on the screen are some of the African nationalists. Then as you can see, there are many African leaders around this end. These are some of the great African leaders, as you can see, ranging from different African leaders. These are called freedom fighters in Africa. So as you can see them now, they are all African people. So ranging from Jomo Kenyatta, ranging from Emperor Haile Selassie, we have Sadala Karaba Jawara of the Gambia, we have Modibo Keita of Mali, Emperor Haile Selassie, we have Leopold Sédar Senghor of Senegal. So as you can see, this is a frame that the people of Senegal have for the African people. So as you can see, there are lists of African people, African ancestors who struggled for the independence of Africa during those times. So these are beautiful and fascinating things for the African people. So as you can see, very important. So these are some of the things that African people need to learn. These are called African, these are called Pan-Africans. These are great Africans who struggled for the independence of the African people. Along the coast, some were killed, along the coast, some were humiliated, along the coast, some were maltreated, some were even taken and beaten, and some died along the coast. So these are some of the reasons why, or these are some of the African people who contributed for the independence of the African people. For instance, when it comes to the Gambia, we have a man called Sadaura, who was born in 1924 in Barajali, and of course become the first prime minister and the first president of the Gambia. Then in Senegal, it was Leopold Sédar Senghor, who was the first president of the Republic of Senegal. Then in Mali, you have Modibo Keita. In Ethiopia, it was Emperor Haile Selassie. So these were all Africans who struggled for the independence of the African people. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Historic TV Live, giving you fascinating and, of course, captivating stories regarding our African ancestors. So you can post.